Matt Bernie, you're taking a look at the $85,000 Wicker Stakes from Del Mar Sunday afternoon, race number 6. We're going to take a look at the race using the new classic PPs available on DRF.com. Same PPs that you've grown and accustomed to taking a look at, but the difference is you get a little bit more functionality, a little bit more interactive aspect to it. So we'll go through, take a look at that. Quick rip through this field in post position order. We'll start with Lequen down on the inside for Ron McAnally. A nice horse. He's consistent. You kind of know what to expect from him, as you can see. These green figures, these are still buyer speed figures, but it just shows what surface they were earned on. You can see by this bet on Sunshine way back in November of 2017. The black figure indicates it was on the main track. The green one's on the turf. He's rock solid, a low to mid 90. The problem is he has not won a race here in the United States. All 5 of his victories came when he was down in his native Argentina. To me, if you're going to use him, underneath is probably the best use. The 2 is Restrained Vengeance. This horse goes out for Val Brinkerhoff. It's just an instance where you take a look and see the best race 3 starts back, this optional claimer. A fine enough speed figure, couldn't quite get to law-abiding Citizen, who we'll talk about here in a moment. Keep in mind, that race came at 6.5 furlongs going down the hill. This race, the Wicker, it's a restricted stake at a mile. I just don't think this mile distance is really conducive to him. I know he won the Oceanside as a 3-year-old. I'm just not convinced that he is. I don't know that he's taken any real step forward in the mile. Sure, he has won in it, but I don't think it's his best distance. I happen to think he's a little bit better going shorter, as noted by this solid effort here in the run 3 starts back and the win going down the hill in the N1X back in April of last year. Restrained Vengeance, not for me. Law-abiding Citizen, just spoke about him. I've always been a fan of this horse from Mark Glatt. I think he's talented. I think there is ability here. The distance, again, I'm not sold on a mile for him, despite the fact that he was finishing well, only defeated by a neck when finishing second in the American Stakes most recently. That was back on June the 23rd. The speed figures are there, no question about it, but it does feel like his best numbers have come going down the hill. The San Simeon back in March. 96 going down the hill. Take a look at these runs. Back at the end of 2018, the Eddie D, a 102, that optional claimer. 6.5 furlongs, a 100. These are all races coming down the hill. Flat mile, look, if he's going to get it, this is going to be the spot. But at the same time, I'm kind of dubious, and at what's probably going to be a relatively short price, he's not for me. I can understand the folks that look at higher power and say, you know what, relatively fresh face in this group as far as turf is concerned, and he's probably not going to run in the race on Saturday, the San Diego. It seems like he's going to run in this spot here. He's got a little bit of early speed that could go a long way. It'll be curious, for me anyway, I'm curious to see what we're going to get for this horse against better horses. And I know he ran against Suitor, he ran against some of these other common foes in the most recent run, but it just, to me, it felt like everything went his way in that run at Santa Anita. There was a relatively soft pace. The internal fractions were reasonably slow given the sort of running style and the profile of the turf at Santa Anita. Makes me wonder now with some other heat early on, some other horses that'll keep him honest early, is that going to potentially sap some of the energy from him? I'm not suggesting he is not with a chance, but just one of those instances, again, at a short price, I don't know that he has any sort of real tremendous edge on this field that's enough for me to be concerned and say, you know what, I'm going to just go all in on him. I respect him. I think he can win. I'm going to go elsewhere. Bombard, I think, is a horse that you need to take seriously, second off the bench for Richard Mandella. This is a horse that, look, he finished second in the Wicker last year behind Double Touch, who's also in this race, breaking on the far outside. He won the Siren Lure going down the hill 3 starts back, but that was all the way back in June of 18. Missed considerable time, nearly a calendar year. Came back in the American, ran relatively well, all things considered. Relatively close. Couldn't quite finish with some of those other horses, including Law-Abiding Citizen. You would imagine second start off the bench, he's going to take a step forward. The concern at this point is, does he still have what it takes to win a race like this? And no, this is not a graded stakes race, but there are solid runners in here. And if he can get back to one of those mid-90 buyers, he's in with the puncher's chance. I'm just not convinced that he can at this point. Now, let the price be your guide. If he takes a ton of money, to me, he would be a fade. But if for some reason he went off in that 7-8 to 1 range, he would be intriguing to me. I'm just still not totally convinced that he is what he once was. Move on to Suitor. Suitor is a nice horse, another Mark Glatt trainee in this spot. The distance for Suitor to me is much better. He's much better suited at this mile to me than Law-Abiding Citizen is. But in my opinion, there's really no question that Law-Abiding Citizen is a more talented horse than Suitor is. You take a look, he's done some good things, don't get me wrong. He went through his conditions 3 and 4 starts back, tried him in the San Francisco. I thought he was in there to be a pacemaker. Clearly that wasn't the case. He wasn't remotely close to the front end. They bring him down to Southern California. He runs well enough in behind higher power, only defeated by about 3/4 of a length. Solid enough effort. If you think he can take a step forward here, second start off the bench, which he has one second start off the bench at Del Mar. Granted, it was a starter allowance race last November. You have some reasons to view him optimistically. Again, let the price be your guide. Take a look at the number of times that he has been in sort of that 5 to 2, 3 to 1 range. He's probably going to be larger than that in this spot, deservedly so. If he's in that 10 to 1 range, I suppose he could get a little bit intriguing. Move on to Blended Citizen. Blended Citizen is a horse that for a minute looked like he might have a puncher's chance in a race at the Belmont Stakes. He won the Peter Pan as a 3-year-old last year. They tried him in the Belmont and didn't work. They brought him back in the Los Al Derby. That didn't work. Then he was gone for some time. Bring him back in the Clocker's Corner, which was supposed to be a means to an end. Unfortunately, came out of that with little bumps and bruises. Needed some more time. Comes back at a flat mile in behind Higher Power and Suitor. He ran well enough given the fact that the pace didn't seem relatively swift that day. For a horse that's a confirmed one-run closer, that was never going to work for him. Now, you would assume second start off the bench, he is going to be at his best for this race. The question is his best good enough? A career best buyer of 91. Granted, he has had starts and stops, and we don't know really what his full potential is yet. He has won over the Del Mar turf. You'll note he broke his maiden back in November of 17 over it. Look, if the pace heats up, I do think he is in with a puncher's chance. At the very least, I'd be using him underneath an Exotics. Now we're going to get to my wacky opinion in this race. I like Tiz a Runner. Now, I've liked Tiz a Runner. I liked him when he was back on the East Coast from Mike Maker. This is a horse that, in my opinion, when you take a look and see, he does his best running from the back of the pack. And his 2 starts here in Southern California, I personally think he's just been much too close to the pace. The Charlie Whittingham, the distance, I think was too far for him. And being that close to the front, that just was never going to work. 2 starts back, that's the run that at least makes me think, you know what? If you can take him a little bit farther off of it, he started about 4 lengths off of it, gradually moved up. To me, at this flat mile distance, I think this is really what's going to hit him between the eyes. I think Michael McCarthy does a tremendous job. And you also combine that with the company that he's been keeping. Take a look at some of these names. Marquise Waters is going to be in with a real chance earlier in the card in the Eddie Reed. United, he came back and won on, I believe it was opening day at Del Mar with about a 93 buyer speed figure. So the form of that most recent run, the Whittingham is holding up. Ashley Love Sugar, just the rock solid older veteran. And the run 2 starts back. Tiz a Runner was only beaten by a half length by Marquise Waters. So I look at that and say, I believe Marquise Water is a major player in that Eddie Reed earlier on the card. I think Tiz a Runner with a more, let's say with a running style, getting back to his best running style, which to me is taking him off the pace and coming with a run. The pace looks like there should be some in front to potentially help set up a late kick. I still maintain he has that big late turn of foot. I think Tiz a Runner is interesting at a price. He may not be the most likely winner, but I liked him on the East Coast. We've talked about it time and time again. The East Coast runners going west, they always seem to have an advantage when it comes to the grass racing. Tiz a Runner, he's where I'm going to go in the Wicker. And the last horse we'll touch on is Double Touch. He was the winner of this race last year. You can see this July of 18. Got the job done at nearly 30 to 1 beneath Gary Stevens. The most recent runs, they haven't been spectacular, but keep in mind he did miss a rather lengthy period of time for Dan Blacker from early October of last year to June of this year. So that was probably nothing more than a means to an end to get him here to this spot. You know he can appreciate the Del Mar turf course. There is still a part of me that feels like that Wicker is kind of an anomaly. It's the only race on his page that really sticks out. I know he did run this 92 in the N2X back, but keep in mind that was going down the hill. That was back in February of 18. If he gets back to the Wicker of last year, definitely has a puncher's chance, but it's another instance where there was a wicked pace that day and he took advantage of it. I don't know that the pace is going to be that hot, and to be honest, I don't know that he's the best closer in the race. I will be against Double Touch. So as I said, I like Tiz a Runner in here. I liked what he did when he was on the East Coast for Mike Maker. Now he's out there for Michael McCarthy, who is a tremendous trainer. I think there's going to be a fair pace in front of him to run at, and I hope they get back to the running style that he displayed when he was on the East Coast. Don't be so close to the pace. Take him back. Let him roll at the very end of the race. I think against lesser company, the little bit of class relief, Marquise Water, United, Ashley Love Sugar, those are all really talented runners. I think Tiz a Runner's got a big chance in this race. I'm going to go with him in the Wicker. Now, as far as the new classic PPs are concerned, when it comes time for the race, you click on wagering and live video, you log into your DRF Bets account, you can make all your picks right here, you click on the Bet Now button, it goes directly into your DRF Bets account, you can watch the live video from Del Mar right over here, and if you're curious about other opinions, Click on News and Analysis. You get selections by Brad Free, some of our other daily racing form handicappers, and you'll get a little bit of a write-up here with the analysis. And then when it's time to print the PPs, if you like to mark your things up still, click on this View Print PPs button. It's going to bring up, ask you a full card or single race. For this instance, I only want the single race. I want to take a look at the Wicker. It brings it up in a PDF format. You can go through, print it out, mark up your PPs, do what you need to do. It's a beautiful thing. The new Classic PPs available on DRF.com. Scheduled post time for race 6 at Del Mar on Sunday afternoon, the $85,000 Wicker. Good luck.